This Monday morning edition of Pucks Across Borders on Sports Addict Live and Total Apex Sports. Brought to you by the one and only First Round Collectibles. Right now with our promo code Sports Addict, get 10% off whatever sports card you want in the entire store. They have an ongoing sale up to 50% off dozens and dozens of select cards. And with our promo code Sports Addict, not only do you get 10% off of regular priced items, but sales items as well. Hockey, football, basketball, baseball, wrestling, boxing. You want it, they got it. Go to firstroundcollectibles.com today. Use promo code Sports Addict for 10% off regular and sales priced items. That's the number one. STRoundcollectibles.com. First Round Collectibles, sports cards for sports fans.
Yeah. Let's go. We just gotta go hard. I go the hardest. I bring the pain. Not what you used to. It's all part of the game. Yeah, I just gotta go hard. I just gotta go hard. Go hard. Yeah. Oh yeah, the beast back. Adrenaline pumping through my veins. Can't relax. Original. I am not the same as these cats. I sting them if they never.
And welcome. Screw the countdown. Welcome to Pucks Across Borders on a Monday morning on Sports Addict Live and our friends at Total Apex Sports. Brought to you by First Round Collectibles. I am Mark Sauter, and it is a beautiful, sunny, positive day here in Toronto. It is beautiful outside, and we're going to talk hockey. Lots to get to from yesterday. One more series starting tonight, another series starting on Tuesday, and another series starting on Wednesday, and we will get to all of it as the games come. But first, as always, at the bottom of your screen, you read his work about the NFL on Gridiron Heroics. John, how are we feeling on a Monday morning, man?
Ready to get the week started, I guess. And this is very random, but I kind of forgot after your story yesterday. I now have the longest beard on video of the three of us. So I guess I'm the last beard standing for now.
Oh my goodness. I'll get to that in a sec.
Now.
Yeah, I'll get to that in a sec. Trust me. I can't even look at myself right now. I might have my video off for the whole show. But don't worry. I'll get to that. Andre, you read his work about the NFL also on Gridiron Heroics. You read his gambling picks on winners and whiners. You read his NHL analysis amongst other sports on TotalApexSports.com. And you see him all over Total Apex Sports, Twitter, and YouTube. Talking football, talking basketball, talking baseball. Andre, how we feeling on a Monday, bro?
Feeling pretty good. Can't complain. Can't wait to hear the full story. Can't wait for the people to hear the full story about your beard, really. So that's what I'm most excited for today.
Yeah, so basically, now we've been doing this show since October. So most people, you've either been watching since October, which if you have, then thank you so much. And maybe you've been watching us for a week. And if so, then thank you so much. We appreciate however long you've been watching. We appreciate you for being with us. But most people don't know me as a human being beyond this show, right? So I've had a beard for a long, long time. My wife and I have been together for almost 7 years now, and she's seen me like this maybe twice in our entire relationship. Like, I do not shave my beard. You got to trim it. You got to clean it up. You got to tighten it up from time to time. But I don't shave it off ever. And it is my plan to never look like this ever again. I'm barbecuing last night, barbecuing some dinner for the family. And my son's outside with me. My wife's outside with me. I don't know what happened, if I just wasn't paying attention or if my barbecue is like set to like blow up at any minute. I have no idea. But as soon as I press the ignite button, just whoosh. and my whole beard was singed, my eyebrow was singed, my sideburns were singed, my whole face just, and I wasn't like leaning over it. I was a good distance back. I'm a safe barbecuer. You should know that about me. And for whatever reason, it just exploded and friggin' singed my face off. And when I looked at myself in the mirror, I just I was so pissed that I just shaved it off. I'm like, I'm not trimming it down and I'm just enough. And I just shaved it all off. And yeah, here we are. If you really zoom in, you can probably see that I have like half an eyebrow. It was a disaster. It really was. But luckily, I'm married. I'm not out there looking for love. I'm locked in. So I only really need half an eyebrow. It's not really important. But anyway, there's the story. But we made steaks and they were delicious. So you win some, you lose some. You know what I mean? It is what it is. All right, moving on. 2 games in the NHL last night. 1 series getting started. 1 series wrapping up. And let's start with the latter. Dallas, Vegas. The most exciting, entertaining series, in my opinion. 1 team had to lose and 1 team had to win. John, what did you think about that Game 7 last night between Dallas and Vegas?
I thought it was a good representation of the entire series. These teams going back and forth, very competitive. I think at times it felt like it could have gone either way. Vegas definitely held their own. I thought they had a good showing as the defending Stanley Cup champions, despite a first-round exit. They gave Dallas basically everything they could handle, considering Dallas was the top seed in the West. And I got to give the Stars credit. They won the game. They earned it. They had a couple clutch goals when they really needed it. And I want to give a shout out to Ottinger in particular. I think he showed up. We talked about it on the show yesterday. I think he did step up when he needed to. I don't think Hill had a bad game by any means, but I think there were a couple notable saves that are going to fly under the radar from Ottinger. There's one example. I don't remember when in the game this happened, but Vegas had like the entire left side of the net open at one point, and Ottinger just sticks his hockey stick out there, forces whoever was shooting to basically shoot wide, when I think if not for that, they had an easy goal that I think tied the game at that time. So that's just one example. Vegas came up just short a couple of times like that. Some of them were big saves by Ottinger. A couple of them, they just hit the post. Came up a little bit short, but I think Ottinger deserves a lot of credit for his Game 7 performance. But all around, I think Dallas had a pretty good game, deserved the win, and now they have a tough opponent next round against Colorado. It doesn't get any easier.
Well, and I mean, if you ask me my opinion, I would say that Ottinger going into this series is the best goaltender. Not necessarily the most consistent, though, right? That's what we've been saying about him all season long. He even said it post game that there were some pretty dark moments for him throughout this season. And that shot that you're referring to, that I believe that was Eichel at the end of the second period. And that's how thin the margins are in these playoff series, right? I was telling Andre before you came on the pre-show, John, that at the end of that game, I was just watching how hard Vegas was pushing, and I just kept thinking, it's a shame that one of these two teams has to lose. I don't know who you would take out of the Western Conference playoffs to put Vegas in, just considering the West is just so deep. But man, Vegas is a deep team, man, and they're so good. And Coach Cassidy said it at the end of the game, that they just had so many injuries, so many major surgeries throughout the year, that to get everybody healthy really for the first time for the playoffs is just really tough to get rolling with that, right? And it took them just a little bit too long, even though they won the first 2 games. But that Dallas team, man, they're kind of Vegas 2.0 in the sense of like their defense is huge. And they just got like really clutch goal scorers, man. Johnston does it again to open up the scoring last night. And we're going to talk about that series tomorrow, but Colorado, Dallas, like, man, that's a beast to pick, dude. Like that's going to be really tough. And I'm curious. And like I said, we're going to talk more about this tomorrow. But I just wanted to have a look here. Yeah, Dallas is minus 125. And I think that's about right. It's probably closer to what the Carolina Rangers odds should be, although I can make a strong argument for the Rangers being favored. But that's going to be a hell of a series, man. I can't wait to watch that unfold. Andre, what about you, man? What did you see from last night between Vegas and Dallas?
Yeah, the post in both games yesterday, the post played huge. But like you said, that one that clanged off the iron could have been the difference in the game. You don't think about it at the time because there's still obviously plenty of opportunities left, but that's one Vegas wishes they had. But Otter played well. The team, scored first, led one up, got it back early in the third to reestablish their lead. Kind of stayed aggressive for the most part, survived the waves. Dallas did everything they needed to do to advance and get revenge for last year's conference finals loss, and the reward is playing the Avalanche. So that just goes to show you, one, this team is really good. They're a complete team. They can, all season long, we talked about how their offense is so deep and they'll beat you, you take the over in all their games was really the motto, but very quietly, good goaltending team, good PK. They're strong defensively too, and that was on display in this series. So Dallas, when you're looking at them, they won the West for a reason. They're a complete team. They will find ways to win. And against the defending champs who have a ton of great players, they found a way to survive. So I think just yesterday's game, that entire series showed that the Stars are legit. We said it at various points during the season, like, oh, we just kind of overlook this team that's at the top of the standings. And, well, they're in the second round and the defending champs aren't. So tough road ahead, obviously, but Dallas is capable of beating anyone when they're right.
Yeah, and I mean, we were talking about, and I've said it like a million times in my opinion, that was like punch for punch the most exciting series. And we got what we deserved, man, with a game 7. This Dallas-Colorado series has all the makings to potentially be the most exciting second round as well. That's going to be such a classic, and I can't wait for it. And that starts tomorrow night. So on tomorrow's show, we will do a full preview on that series and the game. Before we get on to the game tonight and the series starting tonight, let's dive into your guys' yesterday afternoon. Round 2 kicks off with the Carolina Hurricanes visiting the New York Rangers at Madison Square Garden. Rangers coming away with the win. Andre, what did you see from your guys in game 1 of the second round?
What I saw from my guys is kind of what I saw from the Canes, and it's that they had to realize they weren't playing, or they were now playing a playoff team. I'll start from the Rangers side of things. Jumped out early, played nice and strong, took that into the third period 2-goal lead, and then they got comfortable sitting back and just trying to play keep away, trying to burn time. I know the Canes and the Caps were the same colors, but the Canes actually will capitalize if you just give them the puck, give them the offensive zone. The Rangers did a very nice job for 55 minutes of keeping them on the outside, blocking shots, really stifling their offense. And then when it was desperation time, they were trying to just, dump pucks, chew time, not really playing aggressive. And the Canes lived in the offensive zone before that tripping penalty. So if you're the Rangers moving forward, you take that 2-goal lead. You gotta keep pressing. You gotta keep playing the game that got you that lead, because Carolina's relentless, and that was known beforehand. But obviously, when you're playing the Caps, you can park the bus and just watch them trip over their own feet. So that's that's what I learned about the Rangers most from that game. And for the Canes, just they started slow. They did that against the Islanders 4 of the 5 games. Some undisciplined, sloppy penalties from them. I know they only had 2 penalty kills, but they took 3 penalties, and you could look at all 3 and say, just don't do that. Like, that's just lazy hockey. So that's not like them. They're not going to be able to overcome 2-goal deficits at the flip of a switch like they did against the Islanders. So that's something they need to improve upon. Special teams was huge in that game. It will be huge for the series. Both teams are a lead on it. Whoever wins special teams for a given game probably is going to win that game, because every power play goal is going to feel like a dagger with these PKs. So the Canes going 0 for 5 on the power play versus the Rangers going 2 for 2. Very, very much the difference in that one. Carolina needs to figure out how they're going to attack the Rangers power play, because 22 total seconds. Rangers just pretty much tape to tape on both of them for the goals. They were a little too aggressive, it seemed like, but they had that elite number in the regular season for a reason. So this series has a lot of life. I'm still expecting 7, but I think that was still a wake up game for both teams, as far as it's real competition now.
Yeah, it's exactly what you said. For me, the special teams battle, I'm like really have my eye on that, because number one, can't take penalties against this Rangers team. You only took 2, 3, but only 2 power plays given to the Rangers, like you said. And like you said, the Rangers got 2 goals. And one of them, I don't even think the power play lasted 15 seconds. Like, it was like, took a penalty, boom, goal. So you only took 2 penalty kills, like you said, but the Rangers scored on both of them. But then on the other side, Carolina, again, like you said, had 5 power plays. They're not going to go 0 for 5 very often. So if you're the Rangers, you got to look at that and be like, okay, listen, boys, we got away with 1, or 5. We can't do that again. So I'm really interested to see how the special teams battle lines up. I also think, listen, I love Freddie. I think he's a very good goaltender. He was a Leaf for a long time. Even back playing for the Ducks, I remember when the Leafs got him, I was like, dude, this guy's legit. Like, I really like Freddie Anderson, but he's not immune to those leaky goals, where Shesterkin, of course, every goalie will let in the odd, bad goal, but Shesterkin's a lot more dialed in, right? You need a really good scoring chance to get a goal against him. So the goaltending matchup is going to be really fascinating to watch moving forward. I thought that the Rangers deserved to win that hockey game. At the same time, though, they dodged a bullet with that power play from the Canes. And so that's at least one thing you can look at from the Rangers' perspective. We're like, boys, we were a couple power play goals away from losing this hockey game. But great game, and this is going to be a great series, man. I can't wait. And since the Rangers are now the official team of Pucks Across Borders for the rest of the 2024 playoffs, we will all be eyes peeled. John, what did you see from that game yesterday?
To jump on the official team of Pucks Across Borders, I'm developing a theme of picking against your teams in the playoffs, and by the
That's
pattern
awful.
we have so far, Andre's gonna probably hope I continue picking against the Rangers for the rest of the series, because I don't know if the fans back home are watching this stream or keeping track, but I think I'm 0-3 now, picking against these two guys' teams, and like at least in some of the bigger games in the series, at least, and two of them were best
You
bets
deserve
too.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so.
yeah, you deserve it.
So I'll eat some crow on that one. Andre, congrats. I was dead wrong about the Rangers in game one, at least. I didn't expect them to show up, and I thought they were gonna be the team to come out rusty when meanwhile it was the pretty much the exact opposite of my prediction. It was the Canes that really came out rusty and didn't show up. And also thought it might be a lower scoring game because both these teams haven't played in a while. There were 7 goals. It went over. So these two teams, the Rangers especially, the Rangers came out like no time passed by, to their credit. And I underestimated them in that regard. So I'll give them their due. Um, Mark, you touched on one point I wanted to bring up as well with the Carolina side of things. I want to bring up Anderson too. To go a little further on that, statistically he just had a bad game yesterday, and the power play numbers are definitely notable. But defensively, I don't think Carolina played too badly. Like not terribly at 5-on-5 at least. They only allowed 23 shots on goal. But the problem is Anderson gave up 4 goals. Like I think before puck drop, you would sign up for only 23 shots on goals. So I do think Anderson has to be better in that regard. And you guys touched on it. Power play goals contributed to half of that. So obviously the special teams matchup needs to improve for Carolina on both sides, you can argue. Which I was a little surprised Carolina struggled that much on the penalty kill, because during the regular season they were really good. Like they had 86% PK, I think. So I'm not quite sure what happened to them yesterday, but it'll be interesting to see if they can figure it out. I'll just say, as the guy in here that has Carolina as my Stanley Cup champion, I'm not going to full on panic yet. I mean, we've seen good teams go down a game or so in series in the first round. I mean, just from our last series, Dallas was down 2-0 and came back against Vegas.
Right.
What I will say though is I agree with something Andre said, where I think previewing the Carolina series, we both talked about Carolina like just not playing 100% against the Islanders and then just turning on another gear, which I kind of liked about them. But Andre has an interesting point on that I think could present a problem in this series. I don't think they can afford to sit back for as long as they did against the Islanders. I agree with him there. The Rangers are a better team. They're a deeper team. They're a more complete team. And if you get the Igor of old, especially, that's a real problem. So I think Carolina needs to snap out of that mentality. Maybe game one will wake them up a little bit, because despite it being a 1-goal game, I don't really think it was ever that close, except maybe at the very end. For most of the game, the Rangers were up by multiple goals. It felt like Carolina was napping a little bit, and the Rangers showed up. So I agree with Andre in that Carolina needs to have a complete game. They can't afford to just coast and sit back this round, because like they were playing a team they were much better than in the first round. And this round, I think it is a lot more even. I'll add one more notes. I don't know what was up with the sports books yesterday picking the game one odds. Like Carolina was the favorite in that game, and they came out completely flat. So it's like a rare time. I feel like the sports books was just completely wrong.
Dude, the sports books, pardon my language here. I don't know if there's kids watching. I'm just going to say it how it is. The sports books are horned up about the Hurricanes team, man. They're giving the Hurricanes like it's crazy to me. I haven't looked at, I don't know, Andre, if you have. We went over the odds yesterday. Now the Rangers are minus 140 favorites to win the series after they go up 1-0. So if you wanted a Rangers bet, yesterday was the time to do it. And if you still think the Rangers will win the series and you want to bet it, hope that Carolina goes up 2-1 because you're not going to get good odds for that ever again. It's done now. You had your chance to bet the Rangers yesterday. The one thing, John, that I will say is that while I agree with you about Freddie's performance, those 2 power play goals were point blank range. Like both of them were right in front of the net. And I'm not a goaltending nerd. I don't know. I'd have to look over it again. Like, was he in the wrong position? I know the one goal he was on his back, and the other goal was a quick one-timer. So it's like, could he have done more? But that's not like the Hurricanes to let the Rangers just shoot like 4 feet in front of the Hurricanes net on the power play, right? So I do wonder if that is just being off for a week. Like, did that have something to do with it? I'm not sure. But that really stood out to me, eh? Like both those 2 power play goals were right in front of the net. Like it was like right there. But yeah, it's going to be a great series. Speaking of which, is this going to be a great series? I don't know. We'll see. I feel like Florida is about to put a beat down, but we'll see what happens. Round 2, Florida, Boston. Florida is minus 190. And unlike the Carolina, New York odds, this seems about right to me. Boston plus 160, Florida minus 190. As for the game tonight, and this is what we'll do, we'll all just go around. Boys, give me your breakdown on the series and then what you think will happen in the game tonight. So minus 190 to win the series are the Panthers, plus 160 to win the series for the Boston Bruins. As for the game tonight, Boston, a little bit of Boston money coming in. These odds have shifted a little bit. Boston's plus 142 now, while the Panthers are minus 170. The over is 5.5 at plus 105. The under is minus 125. Plus 1.5 for the Bruins is minus 185. Minus 1.5 for the Panthers is plus 154. Andre, what do you see in this game tonight? Or what do you see in the series and then the game tonight?
Yeah. I think 7, maybe 6.5. I'll count Vancouver as a half. Teams could legitimately win the cup, and I'll be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like whatever. That leaves one team out, and they wear black and yellow, and they play in Massachusetts. It's the Boston Bruins. I'm just so thoroughly unimpressed with that team. Great goalies. Great goalies. Elite scorer in Pasternak. Marchand is a leader. He's been there before, but kind of just meh skaters. They don't really move the needle for me. They didn't impress me during the regular season. They didn't impress me in that round 1 escape act. If you want to be honest, they were up 3-1 against a team that couldn't score, got it to game 7, fell behind in the third period of game 7, and just got out of there before an all-time collapse again. And now they're facing the team that came back from 3-1 last year as the 8th seed in their record-setting regular season, a team in Florida that had a much better season than them. I know the Bruins only finished 1 point behind them, but Florida won 5 more games, if I did my math right. 52 for them, 47 for the Bruins. Overtime losses don't get you points anymore. And that's how Boston thrived. Playing these tight games, or I'm not even going to say tight games. If you're going to score 1 goal, 2 goals against the Panthers, be prepared to lose by multiple because they're coming in waves. And that goaltending isn't going to last forever when you're getting peppered by shots, when your players are getting beat up and bruised. This is going to be a long 4, 5, 6, maybe 6 games for the Bruins, but Florida all the way. Minus 190 is not something I would bet on because that's pretty steep odds, but they're going to advance. I think we all kind of penciled in the Panthers for the conference finals
Yep.
during first round after seeing Bruins versus the Leafs 5 times. So
what do you see in the game tonight?
it's in Sunrise, first and foremost. So that's instant edge to Florida. They have, or at least during the regular season, they had better defense and goaltending than this team. Bobrovsky can match Swayman or Ullmark, save for save, you would think. Offensively, they're much more reliable. Special teams, they have them slightly beat on the PK. They have a decent edge on the power play. In their first round matchup, they actually consistently scored 3 goals, 3, 3, 5, 3, 6. That's how you win a series. Do you see, if the Panthers keep that up, right? If the Panthers score 3+ goals in every game, do you see the Bruins winning more than 2? I don't. If the Panthers score 4 goals, or if they average 4 goals per game in the series, I think they win every game by multiple goals, just in a hypothetical scenario. So I see 4 goals from the Panthers, who are more rested and at home. Definitely don't lack motivation because they did lose the Cup Finals last year. They want to be right back where they were and finish the story, as they say these days. So motivation is going to be there. Rust, I don't think is going to be a factor. I see them scoring at least 4 goals, and that's enough to win by 2. So I'm going to take the puck line, and I'm going to take the over.
Yeah, so for me in this series, like a couple things. Number one, being a Leaf fan and talking about Boston, not just because the Leafs lost, but just like the team that Boston is, no disrespect. It's just like, man, like I said this before, no matter who won that Boston-Toronto series, I think Florida was going to spank them regardless. Like, I don't think Toronto had a chance in this series either. But listen, in the last 9 regulation periods, Boston has scored a combined 3 goals. Joseph Wall, very good goalie. Samsonov, good goalie. Bobrovsky is better than both of them times 5 combined. Like, Bobrovsky is a whole nother animal. And the other thing about that series, round 1 for Boston, that was a very, very physical series. That was probably the most physical series of them all. I can't remember the final total, but in the first 3 games of round 1 for Toronto and Boston, there was a combined 326 hits in the first 3 games. Like, Boston is beat up and they're bruised, and they just played 2 nights ago. And then you're playing Florida, who are the bullies of the NHL. Like, I just think physically, we can talk about depth, we can talk about goaltending, but just physically, I just think that Boston, they just went through a meat grinder, and they're about to play a team that's been hanging out in Florida at the beach for a week, and they're rested and they're ready to go. And I don't think, like, it's going to be ugly, in my opinion. Thank God, I only have one Boston fan in my life, so I only had to hear from one person. And of course, my neighbor thinks she's funny when she says, "Hey, Boston," when she sees my son, whose name is Boston. "Hey, Boston, you happy that your team won?" I'm like, "Lady, this just happened yesterday. Like, can you give me like 48 hours before you make those jokes around me?" But anyway, this buddy of mine, he's saying how Swayman gives Boston a chance in this series. And I mean, maybe anything's possible. Swayman's a very, very good goaltender. Do not get me wrong. But this Florida team is just another animal. And I just, I'm right there with you to segue into the game tonight. I think Florida wins this series in 5 games. And I think Florida wins by 1.5 tonight, plus 154. And I like that over. You're giving me plus 105, over 5.5. Over unders are super dicey in the playoffs, especially like really risky bets. I think all like overs and unders should both be plus money because who knows. But I'll take the over 5.5 at plus 105, and I'll take Panthers minus 1.5. The last thing that I will say about this game, Carter Verhaeghe, 5 goals in the 5-game series against the Lightning, 9 points. This guy is a playoff performer every year. For him to get a goal tonight is plus 140. So give me some Carter Verhaeghe anytime goal. I'll take the Florida puck line, and I'll take the over 5.5. John, what do you see in this series and in this game?
To start with the series, I agree with something Andre said in the beginning of this segment and it's funny because I have the exact same 2 teams on the bottom of my list here. If we're ranking the 8 teams left for chances to win the Stanley Cup, I think the Bruins are the only team I'd give absolutely no chance to. Or like, I'm not going to say 0%, but it's less than 5%, maybe 1 or 2%. And the Canucks would actually be my second team on the list, or second to last team. But I still think they have a somewhat of a chance. But so it's funny. We kind of have the same 2 teams on the bottom there. But I think we all feel that way about Boston at the very least, that I just don't see this team winning the cup. And I have the same concern as Mark about fatigue on the Bruins side of things. And we all know the Panthers are a very physical hockey team as well. Boston just played a 7-game series, and they're on literally 2 days rest. I don't think that bodes well at all for tonight. So to segue into tonight's game here, I don't really agree with you guys about the over. I'm going under. Florida's one of the top goaltending teams in the NHL. Boston, I think, is fatigued and exhausted, and they're going to feel it tonight, which is why I wouldn't be surprised if Boston gets shut out, or at the very least, maybe 1 goal on their side of things. Why I'm a little concerned about going over for the game. And in terms of betting aside for tonight, I think Florida puck line would be what I would touch out of anything here. I'm not as confident in that, but I think if I'm choosing anything, that would be it. But I personally really like the under just because I think Boston's going to be very fatigued. And the way Florida plays, it's like that doesn't bode well for tonight. In terms of the overall series, I do think there's 2 things I'm noting about Boston in particular to watch here. One is good and one is bad. The good, I'll continue with something Mark said in his monologue. Swayman. Boston, I think, finally established an identity when it comes to who the man is behind the net. Because all season, it was pretty much a split job. And this wasn't necessarily a bad thing because both these guys are very, very good between Swayman and Allmark. And I think about game 3 of the series, I want to say, in the first round, Boston was finally like, screw it, Swayman's the guy. And it was the first time in quite a while someone played back-to-back games for Boston, who started. And I think he started 4 or 5 straight games in that series. So I think, if anything, Boston established that Swayman is the guy, which I think is very important for this series because if Boston is going to win this series, they need rock-solid goaltending, especially against a team like Florida, one of the top defensive / goaltending teams in the NHL. And I tend to be a believer in a hot goaltender in the playoffs. Like, you can ride a hot goaltender if you get just enough support. And Swayman, I would argue Swayman is one of the biggest reasons why Boston's here right now, because they didn't necessarily play great surrounding him, but Swayman, in the last 3 games in particular, I think he was giving up less than 2 goals a game against Toronto. So it's not like it's bad or anything like that. Like, he gave up 2 in game 5, but 1 of them was in overtime. So just 1 in regulation, 2 in game 6, and 1 in game 7. So he gave up 4 regulation goals in the last 3 games of that series. I think that's the most optimistic argument you can make for Boston. They have their man at net. He's very solid, and he's playing pretty well entering the second round. Here's the negative though, when it comes to the Bruins. Their scoring is really struggling right now. Entering that's
Big
why
time.
I'm saying they're a little lucky to be here, and that does not bode well for the Bruins against a team like Florida, who's so talented defensively, such a physical team, and has one of the best goalies in the NHL. Because what I just said about Swayman for Boston, their offense even worse, even worse. Because like I think Boston scored 2 goals in regulation in the last 3 games of that series against Toronto. Because like they scored, but one of them was a goal. They got shut out in game 6. Well, okay, they didn't technically get shut out in game 6.
They scored with like 0.1 seconds left. Yeah,
exactly. So in my mind, they got shut out. Yeah. They got shut out for 19 minutes, 59 seconds, and 9/10 of a second. So, all right. So we have that. And in game 5, they scored 1 goal. They scored 1 goal in regulation. So my point is Boston offensively is really, really struggling right now, and they cannot afford to do that against Florida. I feel like if Swayman continues to play well, goals are going to come at a premium, just like the last 3 games of the first round, where it might come down to like a team scoring with 10 minutes left in the game again. It really might, which is why I love the way Swayman's playing right now. And I do think it's a very good thing that Boston established a firm identity there. And I'll argue one more point in Boston's favor, not necessarily to win the series, but to maybe extend it. There's a huge revenge factor in Boston's favor here, because last year they got embarrassed by this Florida team. They got embarrassed. Historical President's Trophy winner gets knocked out in the first round by a team that barely made the playoffs in the Florida Panthers. Now, to Florida's credit, they made them look like a not as terrible loss because they made it all the way to the Cup final. But you can't tell me Boston, their players, their fans are not sitting on this and still thinking about what happened last year against Florida. So I feel like there's we talked about this with Dallas against Vegas. I would argue it's like tenfold when it comes to Boston, Florida. Boston wants revenge. I don't necessarily believe they have the talent to do it, but I'm not ruling this team out to win the series. I don't want to say they have no chance. My personal opinion, though, I think they're too fatigued and they're going to run out of gas just because, like Mark said, I think the Toronto series took a lot out of them, and now they're going up against a very physical team and a very talented team in that matter in Florida. But I think Boston's going to show a little bit of fight. I do not think this will be a short series. I'm going to say Florida in 6 games. The odds don't make it attractive to bet because it's minus 190 for a series bet, but that's just my prediction in how the series is going to go. I think Boston's going to show some heart, but in the end, I just don't think they have the gas. Swayman might win them a game or two the way he's playing, honestly. But I just don't think they have the gas to keep up with Florida this round.
Well, if you don't like the odds for Florida to win, they're plus 425 to win 4-2. And they are plus 400 to win 4-1. And they're plus 425 to win 4-2. The Panthers are. So it's really interesting, actually. For Florida to win in 7 or in 5 is plus 400, but to win in 6 is plus 425. That's interesting to me. Anyway, yeah, dude. Well, and it's interesting you're talking about the goal scoring because David Pastrnak, he scored the OT winner to book the flight for this game. But other than that, he was a ghost for the majority of this series. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens down the line. All right, moving on. We're going to wrap up the show, as always, with our best bets brought to you by First Round Collectibles. Right now, with our promo code SportsAddict, get 10% off any sports card in the First Round Collectibles store. They have an ongoing sale up to 50% off. And with our promo code Sports Addict, not only do you get 10% off of regular priced items, but sales items as well. Go to firstroundcollectibles.com today. That's the number 1, STRoundcollectibles.com. First Round Collectibles, sports cards for sports fans. Andre, what is your best bet in the NHL tonight?
Yeah, so Sam Reinhart, right? Great season.
Ooh.
3 goals in the first round, 5-game series. He had 4 points against Boston in 4 games this season, including a pair of goals. He is plus 105 to get a goal tonight, and I really like that.
Okay.
So I'm going to take Sam Reinhart plus 105 anytime goal scorer.
Absolutely love it. Well, I don't know what John's betting. I usually go last, but I'm going to sneak in here because I can do whatever I want, and I'm taking Florida minus 1.5. I think John disagrees with me, but I'm going to do it. Florida minus 1.5 plus 154. I think that, I think it might be a closer series than we think, John, but I think the fact that Boston just finished that round on Saturday, man, I know Swayman's good, but I feel like they're just out of gas tonight. And we'll see what happens, but I'm picking Florida minus 1.5 at plus 154. John, what about you?
Honestly, if there was a game in the series, I'd pick the Florida puck line. It'd be tonight. I actually do agree with you. That's what I would pick too for like a side if I was picking one. In terms of a best bet, I know you guys don't agree with me on this, but I really like the under tonight just because of the fatigue factor on Boston's side. I really don't think they're going to score more than a goal tonight. They're going up against Bobrovsky. Plus, they're going up against a very physical team in Florida. And Boston's coming off a very long series against Toronto. Very emotional win Saturday night as well in front of their home crowd. And now they're going on the road. I understand they're in Florida, so maybe it'll feel like a home game there too. But I don't know. I just think this is going to be a near shutdown performance on Florida's end. And I just don't – I trust an under 5.5 to hit. Like, I could see this being a 4-1 game. I really could. I just don't think Boston is going to put up a lot tonight.
Love it. Andre, what do we got, bro?
We got some juiced up odds, mostly because everything, yet again, is kind of clashing with each other. We got the Panthers puck line, which on its own is minus 150 or plus 154. It's minus 1.5 for them. The under 5.5, which is minus 125, and Sam Reinhart anytime goal scorer is plus 105. Same game parlay at plus 850.
Absolutely love it. Everybody, thank you so much for watching Pucks Across Borders on this beautiful Monday morning. Thank you to Total Apex Sports for having us on board. We appreciate you guys. Thank you to First Round Collectibles for being on board with us. We appreciate you. Head to firstroundcollectibles.com today. Promo code Sports Addict for 10% off sales and regular price items. I'll also say this as we wrap up. Was watching Game 7 on Saturday. If you're a visiting fan, don't go with the face paint. Like, if you want to wear like your team's jersey in the visiting barn, go ahead. But you're going to get ripped to shreds if your face is painted walking out of there with an L. With that, have a great night. Enjoy the games. We'll see you tomorrow.